One dynamic that we talk about a lot is how issues that everyone struggles with to some extent, whether it's shalom bias or emotional issues, mental health, financial stress, fitting into a community, those aren't only issues that affect Bali Tshuva, but because Bali Tshuva make this great transition in life and sometimes feel, probably wrongly, that they have to sever ties with the past, with their own family members, with their friends, with a part of themselves. Sometimes those issues can take on a greater life of their own, or not have the same sort of support structure to keep them in place. And so I'm wondering whether you ever saw or understood the Rebbe to respond to those sorts of issues, the structural support issues of Bali Tshuva who didn't have the kind of intergenerational family behind them in Crown Heights or wherever they lived to help them accommodate to life's challenges.
First of all, I agree with what you said, and I would take it one step further. It's not only that a lot of them choose to dissociate from their so-called former families, which is a big tragedy, but because very, very often, especially as time passes, in other words, they get closer and closer to today, the American family is bankrupt. In other words, these children are not raised in normal secular homes. Raising a child is raising a child. Teaching him decency, teaching him loyalty, responsibility, fidelity, honesty. If you grew up in a secular home, but there's a husband, a father, and a mother who love each other and respect each other and impart values about relationships, those lessons apply in a frum community as they would apply any place else. And Bali Tshuva from that background will have a far easier time integrating. So in other words, I don't only think it's because they're divorcing their past, it's because there isn't a past to fall back on. And I'm going to tell you again that as time passes, this becomes more and more an anash issue. There's more and more anash who either choose to or just don't know how to live a normal life. And it certainly is a pressure which is distinct on Bali Tshuva. There's no question that the hardest part about being a Baal Tshuva is not having family. There's no question about it. The hardest thing is that you do everything yourself. My wife had a baby. She went to stay with her mother. If you're a Baal Tshuva couple, unless you have special parents, you're on your own. And some do. I've seen them come into the community, but most don't. And this is the hardest thing. I remember speaking to a man many, many years ago who told me, we became frum, we didn't have our own family, so we created an artificial family, meaning to say that because they had gone to yeshiva together, Misadara Torah and Machon Chana, the children were cousins, not biologically, but socially, because they were part of the same generation of Bali Tshuva. As I said to you in my introduction, I cannot candidly, honestly tell you that I know of a case where the Rebbe addressed this question. My understanding is that the Rebbe expected us to embrace the Bali Tshuva, incorporate them in our community, and make it our business to help them figure these things out. Unfortunately, for every family in Crown Heights that does this, there are 10 or 20 or 30 or 50 that don't, including families of former Bali Tshuva. In a perfect world, a couple that gets married, doesn't have parents, needs to be adopted by a local family, and everything has to be taught. How to make a kosher kitchen, how to prepare meals for many people, how to balance laundry and meals and keeping the house clean and looking after the children. I mean, the burdens of a frum life are extraordinary. There's so much more that you need to do, and to figure all of that out, you need wisdom and practical advice. Again, I go back to my initial point. The Rebbe did not want Bali Tshuva to be a separate community, and he expected us to support the Bali Tshuva. On some levels we do, on some levels we don't. I would argue that there's two classes of Bali Tshuva, and this is not unique to Bali Tshuva, but it's especially acute when it comes to Bali Tshuva. The Bali Tshuva who never give up on their mashpiyim. Bali Tshuva get married, they'll always go back into their teachers. Not necessarily the teachers who taught them Torah, but the teachers who will teach them how you build a home, how you establish a relationship with your wife, how you raise children. And then there are Balei Tshuva, for whatever reasons, who are, forgive me if using this word, who are orphaned. And it's very difficult. It's tragic. It's very, very difficult for them. And they need to seek, they need to ask for help. And if they find a couple, a family, that takes a liking to them, that's prepared to sort of include them as a surrogate child, they should take that opportunity. They shouldn't feel like they're intruding on other people. They shouldn't feel like the other people are patronizing them. Everybody needs support. And Balei Tshuva in many cases don't have it. It's the hardest part of being a Baal Tshuva. You know, when we got married, I needed advice, I spoke to my father. My wife needed advice, she spoke to her, whatever it is, her sister, her mother, whatever the case is. Balei Tshuva don't have that support, and they need to get it from the community. It's very much an individual thing. It's not like there's a social structure that provides this, and not that there should be a social structure. It's very private. But in a perfect Crown Heights and in a perfect New Haven, every Baal Tshuva couple is very lovingly and tenderly and without condescension embraced by a family, perhaps a family whose children are already grown, and they literally teach them how to build a Jewish life. It was that way in the beginning. I can tell you that as a fact. It was that way in the beginning. My wife's grandmother, whose name was Mrs. Schusterman, Henya Schusterman, the number of Balei Tshuva that came through her home and the way she embraced them, and she literally raised young couples, one after another, and she taught them on the woman's end how to be Balei Tshuva, how to live. My parents' home was open as a child. There's so many people came through, and many of the people who came through were repeat come-throughers. In other words, they became a part of our extended family. But there's a need for more. There's a need for a lot more of that. I hope that answers the question practically. And if you're looking for initiatives, this is a great initiative to undertake. No one wants to talk about it because the Balei Tshuva don't want to feel like they're being patronized or being done a favor to. But there's enough seniors in this neighborhood, enough couples who are in their early 60s, whose children are married, they're out of the house, who are very capable of embracing a couple, two couples, and literally having them at their Shabbos table and just helping them get off the ground and being there when they run into pitfalls in school and in PTA and with the principals and with tuition and with parnasa and with shalom bayis. This is what the Rebbe wants. He never told me, but there's no doubt in my mind this is how the Rebbe sees it.
Well, we've definitely been the benefactors of the Schusterman legacy, both in your home and also through your relatives, the Greviches.
Right, but you see, but many people, they don't have it, and the tragedy is many people are afraid to solicit it. They're afraid to ask for it, and they need to. It's important. The Baal Tshuva couple feels abandoned. They need to just need one family. That's all it is. And don't feel like, oh, I don't want to take advantage of them. No, this is very important. And in the cases where this works, the senior couple that embraces this, they're like a Zayd and a Baba to the Einiklach. It's a very real possibility, and it can be done so tastefully and so kindly and so generously if the people involved are mentioned. But too many Balei Tshuva feel that they're going to be seen as dependent. And they are. they are dependent. But when you need something, you have to ask for it. This is critically important.